Wow. Really, Nintendo? Really? Holy shit. Alright, so, for all two of you who don't know, somehow, there was a Nintendo Direct recently for the Nintendo Switch 2. Honestly, the Direct itself wasn't actually that bad. If I'm being perfectly honest here, I actually liked most of the announcements that were shown at the Direct. However, it's what wasn't shown or talked about that I have an issue with, and believe me, we're getting to that. But just to go over, like, some highlights from the Direct, because I don't want to be completely negative, just 90% negative. Mario Kart World, while there is the huge elephant in the room that I'm ignoring for a little bit, Mario Kart World, in spite of the big issue, does look really, really cool. I was one of those people that was really hoping they would just go for the whole Nintendo Kart. I knew they would probably keep the Mario Kart moniker because, of course, it sells, but I was hoping they would do Nintendo Kart because, well, where do you go after Mario Kart 8? Well, it turns out Nintendo went a direction that I hadn't even thought of. A free-roaming Mario Kart. An open sandbox Mario Kart at that. And what's particularly really cool is I really like the idea that each race course has sort of a mini course that leads directly into the next for Grand Prix. So, like, after a race is done, you have to drive to the next course. And that's really cool. That's really interesting. I never thought of that. I never actually thought that that was an option or an idea. And it really does make this Mario Kart distinct. And the title Mario Kart World is a good title. It fits. They have some alternate costumes, it seems like. We don't have any of those stupid pink gold Peach or metal Mario anymore. We don't have like a Tanuki Mario suit or anything like that. It seems like they actually decided to just have alternate costumes, although the weird thing about it is that you have to get a power-up in order to get them. I'm not sure how the hell that's gonna work, but hey, it's nice to have actual alternate costumes for once. So yeah, Mario Kart World, in spite of that thing that I'm going to talk about, it actually does look like a really fun game, and does seem like it would be a decent follow-up to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which at this point has so much content that it really does make you question where do you go from here. Mario Kart World, despite that thing, looks really, really good. I love the new Donkey Kong game, the new 3D Donkey Kong game. It looks like it's a continuation of what Odyssey was doing, in a way. They're taking a lot of cues from Odyssey. I think they're even reusing the same engine, which is fine, makes sense. I personally really like the look of it. I know not everyone is really down with the design for Donkey Kong, but personally, I like it. It's really expressive. I know they're taking a lot of cues from the movie, and that's probably why a lot of people don't really like it that much. I will agree that this isn't the Donkey Kong design that I would want to see for the rest of time, but I think for, like, one game, it's fine. I think it looks pretty fun. We're getting Nintendo Switch upgrades, and I have mixed feelings about that. Not because the idea of upgrading some Switch games to run at, like, higher frame rates and higher resolutions is bad. It's not. It's just... well, I'll get into that in a minute. Still, it is neat how we are getting some upgrades to other games. It was really weird seeing Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild run at 60 FPS because I'm so used to them running like absolute dog shit when I play them. So, that will be odd if I ever do decide to play them, which, spoiler warning, I'm not sure if I'm going to, for reasons I will get to. And, what else was there? Was there anything else that I feel... Kirby Air Ride has a new sequel, Kirby Air Riders, and a new FromSoft game. I don't really play much FromSoft, but it looked really cool. You know, there's a bunch of... Silk Song. Silk Song actually got an announcement. I have not played Hollow Knight, so I have no interest yet, but Silk Song I know is something a lot of people have wanted, so cheers to them. Good for them. They got their announcement. Apparently it's coming out this year. I'll believe it when I see it. A couple of other stuff, we got some third-party games that are really, really obvious picks. Street Fighter 6, Elden Ring, they're coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. Not sure how that's going to work. I'm sure Elden Ring is going to run like absolute dog shit, but, what else is new for From Software games? There's also this new digital game card where basically the digital game cards allow you to supposedly make it easier to transfer games to your friends and allow you to share them. If I'm being perfectly honest here, the options look really, really limiting and not very user-friendly. And honestly, knowing what I do know about them, I think I know why they're making this. It's because they don't want people to just use a family plan in order to make it so, like, everyone can, say you have a family plan for the Switch with a couple of your friends, not even just family members, just your friends, so that way you all get the benefits. It is actually a good idea to do that. Thing is, Nintendo doesn't like that because they want to get as much money as possible, and if you get the family plan and share your games that way, well, they're not getting that money. So this seems like a way for them to basically make it so they have more control over that, and that is very anti-consumer. And I guess that's a good segue, because now we're getting into the main purpose of this. Nintendo, what the fuck are you doing charging $90 for Mario Kart World? At least physically? Oh, but don't worry, it's cheaper if you get the digital by $10. So, assuming you buy the game and you don't do that stupid freaking, digital pack-in bundle with the Switch, which I know why you did, it's because you knew you would get backlash for this. Also, fun fact, they didn't actually reveal the price for Mario Kart World until after the Direct. It was not in the Direct itself. I wonder why. But yeah, Mario Kart World digitally is going to be $80. And physically, $90. Now, Jesus fucking Christ. I know some people were expecting that GTA 6 would basically be the first $100 game or $120 game or whatever price they want to make it, and that despite the fact that it would be a horrible precedent to set, fans would eat it up and buy it anyway. And to an extent, I was 50-50 on it. I was like, I could really see them doing that, but I really hope it's not true. I wanted to believe that it would never happen. Because, gamers and fans, or really just anyone, would just go up and say no. But I also knew, from the deep, dark, cynical pit of my heart, that it could be a possibility, and Rockstar could get away with it, and they could do it, and then other developers would follow suit. Well, it seems like Nintendo wants to beat them to the punch on that, because they want to be the trendsetter on that, and Nintendo, fuck you. Just fuck you. When the Nintendo Direct for the Switch 2 was shown off, I was actually fairly positive about it. It wasn't until after I heard about the pricing, and believe me, Mario Kart is just the start of it. The pricing for all of this stuff is insane. The pricing for their games is just stupid. Okay, so most of the games are going to be $70 now, which I was expecting. I was expecting they would charge $70 for Switch 2 games. Because let's be honest here, 70, whether we like it or not, was the standard for this past generation. It's been the standard for a little bit now, and I'm going to talk about why that's a crock of shit. I've never done it in a video before, but I figure I might as well talk about that now, because I want to talk about why games are now $70, why they really are $70. So yeah, like, the whole thing with games being $70 was stupid, but I expected that Nintendo would do it, especially after Tears of the Kingdom was a $70 game. It seemed like they were experimenting, and Tears of the Kingdom would obviously be a success, so it seemed like it was a success on not just the game itself, but also, so we can charge $70 and people will be okay. Now it seems like they want to go even further. They want to set the trend for like $80, $90, maybe even $100 games, because, hey, why not? Fans will buy it anyway. And I know deep down, people are going to pay for it. People are going to buy a Switch 2. People are going to buy Mario Kart World. Whether it be the bundle, or just the digital version, or the physical, doesn't matter. People will support this stuff. But I am begging everyone who watches this video, or really just any video on the Switch 2, I am begging people to please vote with your wallet on this one. Because the price gouging that Nintendo is doing, and keep in mind, like, because of a certain political issue, tariffs, they actually said that the pricing may in fact go even higher than that, which is already really ridiculous. These were the prices they made before the tariffs. So, that's nice, Nintendo. That's real nice. Real classy of you. But I beg of everyone watching this video, please, do not buy the Switch 2, or at the very least, do not support Nintendo with this bullshit, alright? Because, like, the reason why this stuff becomes the standard is because people buy the games, people buy this, and I know that me begging or asking people not to buy the Switch 2 and to vote with your wallet is essentially moot. Because let's be honest here, people are going to buy it anyway. But please, please do yourself a favor and do not buy it. Like, I see so many Nintendo fans complaining and saying, like, this is bullshit. And yeah, it is bullshit. And it's like, well, if you don't like this, vote with your wallet. Don't buy it. Because I'm going to be honest here, and I know that I'm big into Nintendo games, so you may not believe me until I do it, but trust me, I'm not buying a Nintendo Switch 2. Honestly, the Nintendo Switch 2 as a whole has just been incredibly disappointing. Now, the console itself is fine. It has all of the specifications that really we've come to expect with the Switch 2, and honestly, the price for the console itself is not bad. It's just everything else around the console. Like, they're charging like $10 for a tech demo. They're charging like another $10 for the weird mouse tech demo, because they made the Joy-Cons into mouse controllers. So now they have like 2 tech demos that are both costing money, both of which will teach you about features of the console. Real nice there. They are charging more for their games, sometimes up to $80 to $90, and that's just for the basic bitch edition. Who knows if they're going to do any type of collector's editions, which may cost more, because that is also a thing that a lot of game companies do. Pokemon is probably going to be $70, and we know for a fucking fact none of those games are worth even $40. I'm sorry, if you think they are, no. And it's just one of those things where it's like the pricing for everything other than the system is just completely fucked, and it might even get worse. And the only way that they will ever go back on any of these dumb decisions is if you vote with your wallet and don't support it. Take the 3DS, for example. The 3DS was overpriced and not very powerful, didn't really have many games for it when it first came out. So much so that a few years into its life, it got a massive price cut. They started giving away free games. They even gave away, like, exclusive games, like GBA emulations, like with Fusion and such. They started giving a lot of that stuff away because, well, the 3DS wasn't doing well. They were desperate to get anything out of the 3DS at that point. And eventually it worked, because games started coming out for it, they started gaining some goodwill back, and they were humbled. But unfortunately, we don't live in the Wii U era. We don't live in the 3DS era, where Nintendo was failing because of their hubris from the Wii era. Now, their hubris is back in full force, if not worse than it was in the Wii era. So now, the Switch 2 is basically what happens now that Nintendo has the ego of Sony again. And it's such a damn shame, you know, because, like, I like Nintendo. I like their games. But as a company, they make a lot of really shitty anti-consumer decisions, and this might just be some of the worst decision-making they've ever made. Like, worse than their fucking cease and desisting of tournaments and fan games that have they don't affect their bottom line at all, and yet they still go after them because they're dicks. You know, worse than, like, some of the really shitty decisions that they make where they just ignore what fans actually want and do something completely different with certain franchises. It's, like, worse than even ignoring a dormant franchise. Like, this is worse than any of that. They are trying to set a trend to get people to spend more money on their games. That don't really... They don't, and the worst part is that they're spending more money for content that isn't even more of what... Like, they're not getting more content, they're not getting more bang for their buck. They're just getting the same content, or the same amount of content, just at a higher price. Because they can do that. Because they want to do that. They're trying to set a standard that is so awful and expensive and anti-consumer, and honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, deep down, again, I know Nintendo fans and so many other people are going to buy it, but I am hoping, I am praying that because Nintendo has a very big casual audience, especially Mario Kart, and to most families, it makes me question, like, why are they charging so much for Mario Kart World? Now, the obvious answer is because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling game on the Switch. It is one of the best-selling games of all time. It sold like hotcakes. And that's not even adding on the Wii U sales. Like, the Wii U sales, like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe compared to the original Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe probably got 10, 15 times the sales that the original Wii U game did. And that's not even an exaggeration, probably. I can put numbers on the screen just to prove it. But it's like it sold a lot. They know that Mario Kart is a big moneymaker, which is why one of the first games they're going to do this crap with is, of course, Mario Kart World. But here's the thing. Here was the big critical error they made. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is going to be playable on the Switch 2 via backwards compatibility. And it's going to come with all of its DLC. And there's a lot of DLC. There's over 90 courses. Now, sure, some of those courses aren't the best. Half of those courses are from Tour, so they don't look that great. But they're still courses nonetheless. And some of them are really great, like Waluigi's Pinball or 3DS Rainbow Road, 7 Rainbow Road. If you get Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which will probably get cheaper because, you know, it has to, it's an older game, it can't stay $60 forever. You can get Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with its DLC for way less money than Mario Kart World with the Switch 2. What do you think families are going to go for? They'll probably have a family plan, because why wouldn't they? It's a family plan, you might as well. And you can buy it on the Switch 1 and it runs perfectly fine. There's no real reason for a family, and kids especially, to buy Mario Kart World compared to Mario Kart 8, because let's be honest here. Mario Kart World is not going to have the same amount of content that Mario Kart 8 does at launch. It might have a better character roster, but that's it. And that's only because a good chunk of 8's roster is just reswaps or reskins, like, say, Pink Gold Peach or the Koopalings. Like, most of the time, most of the roster will probably be better in World, but other than that, what else does World have? Okay, it has its gimmick of free roaming. And free roaming isn't exactly essential to having a Mario Kart experience. It's a great gimmick, it's a great idea, I like it, but is it essential? Not really. Mario Kart 8 has, like, double the courses, probably triple the courses that this new one's probably going to have. So, because of it, it makes me wonder, will some casual audiences and families stay away from Mario Kart World and consider it not worth it? Because that is a good chunk of Mario Kart 8's audience, is casual gamers. Now, sure, obviously there's a lot of Nintendo fans that will do it, and I'm sure World will ultimately sell well. But the sales may actually, if we're being optimistic, take a dip because of the overpriced nature of World. I know that deep down it's probably not going to do much, but I really, really hope it does. The optimist within me, wherever he is buried within me, is hoping, praying that families actually, like, stand up to this and say, like, holy shit, these games are expensive as hell. I'm not getting this. Not even for... Like, enough is enough. Like, I really hope that Nintendo sales take a dip because of this crap. I know, again, deep down, they won't. But I'm really hoping so. But that's why I'm also making this video, because I want to stress this. Nintendo will turn their back on these decisions if people just don't buy the Switch 2. I'm not buying the Switch 2, and it's not just because I don't have the money, it's also just because I don't like a lot of the anti-consumer practices they've been making, especially with pricing. But unfortunately, it doesn't stop with just the price. Oh, don't get me wrong, the pricing is awful for Mario Kart World, and the stupid tech demos that they want you to pay for. Now, remember when I was talking about the Switch upgrades? Yeah, I'm going to get back to that. So, I talked about the Switch upgrades and why I was mixed on them, but I didn't really highlight the one thing that made me mixed on them. Guess what it is? Of course, it's the price. The upgrades are going to be $20 more. $20. Basically, if you want to get the Switch 2 version of a game like, say, Kirby, the 3D Kirby game, I forget what it's called. Kirby, the 3D Kirby game. You know what it is. I forget what it's called. I apologize. I'm not really a huge Kirby fan. But if you want to get that game, it will cost you $80. What the shit? And that's not just for Kirby either. Mario Party Jamboree, that has that. Let me think. Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, they have it. Pokemon's probably gonna have it, because you know they will. And it's just like... You know, what's funny as well is that Pokemon doesn't even finish their games half the time now, because, like, Scarlet and Violet were released woefully underdeveloped and unfinished, and they were buggy as shit. Imagine if they decide to do that again, because I know for a fact they're gonna fucking pull that shit again, because they don't care about the audience. They're gonna have another unfinished Pokemon game, but don't worry, fans, it'll run better on Switch 2. You know, the console that is really, really pricey when it comes to games. So don't worry, if you buy the $80 version for the Switch 2, you know, you'll be able to play Pokemon at a frame rate above 20. Oh, that's so nice of you, Game Freak. That's so nice of you, Pokemon Company. Go fuck yourselves. Oh, side note, I don't know how many of these I'm gonna have, because, you know, it happens sometimes. But a side note that I forgot about, Fun fact about some of those $80 games, like, the Switch 2 upgraded versions of, say, games like Breath of the Wild, or the Kirby 3D game, or Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, some of those games, Breath of the Wild in particular, came out in 2017, right? It was even made for the Wii U, right? Let me think. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. That's 8 years almost. Breath of the Wild will be 8 years old. And it's somehow more expensive to purchase on the Switch 2 than it ever was in its entire lifetime. That's nice, Nintendo. And look, I don't care if I'm being harsh or mean. They're being harsh to us by pricing the shit this way and trying to set a standard for more expensive games. And I know, before anyone tells me, oh, but Cody, the tariffs are happening. Things get more expensive over time. This is because of inflation. Yada, yada, yada. COVID, something. But first off, shut the fuck up. And second of all, no, it's not. Let me tell you something. The gaming industry has been wanting more expensive games for a long-ass time. And let me tell you why. Around the generation for, I think it was the 8th generation, right? That was the generation for PlayStation 4 and, Xbox One and Wii U and later Switch. Let me tell you something. During that generation, a lot of people were talking about more expensive games. They were talking about raising the price of games from $60 to $70. There were talks about it because of a couple of things. One, a bunch of AAA games were being released incomplete. They just could not be finished because of behind-the-scenes development issues, going over budget, just not having enough time to finish it, yada yada yada. There was also a problem of loot boxes, microtransactions, and generally scummy practices that made the games even more expensive. But, the reason why we have to nickel and dime people is because of the fact that, we need to get more money out of the game. Games are expensive now. They're very expensive to make. And so we have these practices in place. And if you don't like them, the only thing that we can really do is if we raise the prices of video games, then we can remove such practices. That, game development will be smoother. We'll be making more money because you'll be giving us more money for the games, and then we won't have to have these problems. Unfortunately, games increased from 60 to 70 during the PlayStation 5 generation. And guess what? We've gotten more unfinished AAA releases with horrible development cycles, going over budget, sometimes not even having time to finish the game, workplace abuse, and a bunch of other terrible things that make for terrible releases. We still have loot boxes. We still have microtransactions. We still have nickel and diming consumers. We still have all of these problems. Nothing has changed. Hell, sometimes they'll make a $70 game and still have the microtransactions and loot boxes and anti-consumer practices, and the game still won't be unfinished. So you're telling me that we increased the price of games and it was ultimately for no reason. The industry has been trying to feed us this lie that because games are so expensive now, we need to recoup more costs because they're so expensive now. First off, yeah, everything is getting more expensive. I get that. But the lie that they fed us is that this shit would stop because we would be paying more for games. That didn't happen. And I remember that was a big talking point in the late 2010s. Well, guess what? It didn't fucking work. Now we're paying $80, $90. What's next? $100? Maybe $110? What about $120? What about $150 for just a standard edition game? Are we going to have that now? Is that going to be a thing? And is Nintendo going to lead the charge on that, or is GTA 6 going to lead the charge on that? The reason why they're doing this, the reason why they have been increasing the prices of games, isn't because of behind the scenes stuff and how games are so expensive or how everything is getting more expensive. And sure, maybe some of that's true, but I have a hard time believing it. I also have a hard time believing companies because, you know, they want money. That's what they do. But no, I'll tell you the real reason why they want to do it. It's because they think that we'll support this stuff. They think that they can get away with it. They think that they can do this and everyone will just accept it. Oh, sure, they'll bitch and moan, they'll groan and everything, but they'll still buy this stuff, right? You're a consumer. They think you're dumb. They're belittling you. They think that you will support this stuff. Are you? Are you going to? Is the mass audience going to? Well, unfortunately, I think they will. And I'm sorry if that sounds really, really harsh, but let's be realistic here. They probably will, especially for games like GTA 6. But the reason why is not because of tariffs. It's not because of, over budgeted, games going over budget or games being too expensive to make. It's because of greed. It's because of greed. It's because they want to raise the prices because they know they have the properties that you'll want to support, that you'll want to buy. They know that you want that new Mario Kart. They know that you want to play Breath of the Wild at 60 FPS on a Nintendo Switch. For those who don't use emulators, which are, free and way, way easier to run than you would think. They know that you want that new Zelda, you want the new Mario Kart, you want to buy our new games, even if they are overpriced. And again, I know deep down that nothing I say is going to change it. But if there is any hope at all that this stuff can get, changed, that Nintendo will drop the price, I strongly urge anyone. And I'm doing this as well. I'm joining you on this one if you decide to do this. I strongly urge everyone, if you don't like the price of this overpriced crap, if you don't like Nintendo being greedy little sons of bitches, do not buy the Switch 2. Do not support Mario Kart World. Nintendo, if they're humbled, will listen to you. They did so for the 3DS. They did so for the Wii U. They did so for the early Switch era. But ever as the Switch went on, their ego grew more and more and more. They started to become even more anti-consumer. Nintendo's always had anti-consumer practices, yes. Like with their cease and desisting of fan games and tournaments and charities and all of that stuff. They've always had shit tactics. They've always done shitty things. But during the Wii U era and the 3DS era, you could tell that they were being a lot nicer to their consumers because they were fucking up. They were losing tons of money. Their stock was down. The Wii U sold like shit. And as they did that, they started to gain some interest back. And the Switch, the early Switch era, was great. But as the Switch went on, their hubris grew, and they started doing more shitty stuff. That's not to say they were ever perfect. They never were, but they were a hell of a lot nicer than they are now. And you know what? I know the joke was made by Josh Scorcher and tons of other people, but Nintendo needs another Wii U era. They need another one because they need to get kicked in the balls in order to realize that what they're doing here is really fucking shitty. So if you want that to happen, if you actually want them to listen, if you want them to drop the prices of this shit, do not support it. It is that simple. And there are so many people that say, oh, well, I have to get my opinion out here. You don't have to do shit. You do not owe Nintendo your opinion. You do not owe them your money. Oh, but these game developers need to be paid. They're being paid as the game is being made. And second of all, if the product they make is bad, no, you shouldn't have to give out money just because they had a tough time developing a game that turned out badly in the end. Just because Cyberpunk 2077 turned out to be a shit show at launch does not mean you should support that doesn't mean you should support CD Projekt Red just because, oh, but the development of Cyberpunk was really hard. It doesn't matter. It's a product. It is a product that you are meant to buy, and if that product is trash, then it deserves to fail. And I know that's harsh, but that's business. Also, another side note, if you actually think you should support games because, oh, the development on them was really hard and the developers have to keep their jobs, may I remind you that last year so many teams, droves of people, upwards to thousands, got laid off. Sometimes with no severance pay, sometimes they made a successful game like Spider-Man 2. That sold really well. Insomniac and PlayStation still laid off a ton of Insomniac employees after Spider-Man 3 came out in 2023. Oh, what about Hi-Fi Rush? That was a great AA game. It was a game made on a small budget with a small team, and they knew exactly what they wanted to do. Tango Frameworks was then let go. They were let go. They were laid off. Now sure, Tango Frameworks was able to bounce back, and that's awesome. I have nothing but good things to say about that, and I wish them the best for whatever they do next. But imagine if they weren't able to. The team that brought you Hi-Fi Rush, the game that won Microsoft awards, was just laid off after making one of their most successful games. Hi-Fi Rush, I know for a fact, sold well. It was low budget, so I know for a fact it didn't lose them any money, that's for fucking sure. And it won tons of awards, got tons of press. It was seen as a very big hit. Maybe not like the biggest hit ever, but it was a hit. People loved it. Tango Framework still got shat on. So even if you want to support the games because you want to support the developers, it doesn't mean anything. Because these companies are what get the money, not the developers, and the developers might even be laid off after the game is released. So even if that was your reason, it's a shitty reason. You need to put out a complete finished product. Obviously, there are going to be some issues. Obviously, bugs will always exist in games, some worse than others. But when a game is blatantly unfinished, or a game is blatantly overpriced, or the company is doing something really shitty that's fucking over consumers, you have every right to speak with your wallet and not support it. Hey, future me here, just with another note. There's going to be a couple of these because more information is coming out as I'm editing this, but this is more of a correction for the video. So I didn't really drive the point home in the original recording, but the reason why I brought up Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red wasn't just because I wanted to shit on them. I know, before anyone says it, that Cyberpunk is in a good state now. But the reason I wanted to say what I said about it is not because, I have anything against CD Projekt Red or anything. It was to point out, the point of, the whole spiel is that you, as a consumer, as a customer, have the right to say no with your wallet. And believe me, that is a lot more powerful than you think. If a product does not sell, it clearly means that there is something wrong. Not all the time, but a good chunk of the time. If a company, like say CD Projekt Red, makes an unfinished game and abuses their employees, you have the right to not purchase Cyberpunk. Just as much as if Nintendo, who is currently ripping off consumers by overpricing everything basically, you, the consumer, the customer, has a right to voice your complaint and also not support it, which is a form of voicing a complaint as well. You have more power than you think you do. If you truly think that a company is doing something terrible, like, say, Nintendo overcharging and overpricing shit, you have the right to vote with your wallet. You have the right to speak up about it. Now, you aren't obligated to. You don't have to. If you want to purchase it, obviously it's your money. There is nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to point out, the reason I brought up Cyberpunk and unfinished games and abusive employees and all of that stuff is because I'm trying to tell people, you have more power than you think you do. Speak with your wallet. If you think Nintendo is being really scummy with all of these business practices, and they are, in my opinion, you have the power to speak with your wallet. You have the power to speak with your wallet, and that is a stronger way to voice your opinion than just making a YouTube video about it. Believe me. And that's why I'm telling people to do it, because if you truly feel that this is bullshit, like I do, that $80 games should not be a thing, that Mario Kart World is not worth $80, that these Switch upgrades are bullshit, you, as the customer, have the right to not buy it. This is just a really shitty situation all around. And again, if you want change, vote with your wallet. Do not buy the Switch 2. Because if you do, you're basically saying it's okay to screw you over like that. I'm not. I'm not buying Switch 2 anytime soon, if ever. And I really, really hope other people do the same. I want Nintendo to fall flat on their face with this one, because they need to be taken down a peg. They really do. This is really shitty, Nintendo. And honestly, it's a shame, because I really liked most of what I saw with the Direct. But once I found out about the pricing, the anti-consumer bullshit, it just completely derailed any excitement for me. And it's not just me either. A lot of other people feel the same way. But unfortunately, in spite of the fact that people feel that this is a really shitty thing to do, they're still going to support this stuff. And honestly, no, you shouldn't. We deserve better. It doesn't matter what you think of gamers or what you think of Nintendo fans. Customers deserve better than this. This is shitty. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Sorry this rant was a little longer than I wanted it to be, but honestly I have a lot to say. And yeah, this is just... Yeah. Anyway, I'll see ya when I see ya. Bye.